Guys, and welcome to The Young and the Tasteless. I am your host as always, Kathleen Wallach. It was great to see you again. So today I wanted to talk about inspiration and where we, draw inspiration from for our stories or for our, even our day-to-day lives, like where we get our creative inspiration from. When you read a book and you're like, where, a really original story, like an Oscar Wilde story or a Stephen King story, and you're like, where did this person draw this from? Where did they get this idea from? This completely original idea, where did they draw this from? And you ever I would always find myself wondering that, like, how did Oscar Wilde come up with Dorian Gray? Like, how do these things happen? And a lot of the times, people take parables and, or even like Bible stories and they sort of make them into, they modernize them. A lot of people obviously will use Shakespeare and they'll modernize a tale. And I personally think inspiration always comes from above. I always think it's God, it's angels giving you, these lightning in a bottle ideas. I always think that. But it's like and I think that he does that through different ways. I think, when you're listening to a song and something comes to your head from that song. When I used to go to the gym and used to, not anymore, I just got sick of it. When you listen to a song when you're working out, or you're just, even just anywhere, just sitting and listening to a song and like a scene comes to your head just out of nowhere. I always like to think that's God, that's angels, But yeah, it's just like, so where do we draw our inspiration from, And it's like, and a lot of the times it does come from personal experience. And a lot of fiction works come from personal experience. And I think that it's interesting to read a book and be like, I wonder if this comes from something that this person went through. We all know that like The Shining by Stephen King came from his personal experience, came from his battles with addiction, and then it's fun to interpret it in like a different way. That way, you're like, oh, so not only is this a ghost story, but it's also it's an internal battle story. So that's always interesting. I like doing that. I like to sort of read books and be like, and research and see like what was going on in the author's life, or what was, to bring that forward into the work. And I think it's just so interesting. And also it's like, people sort of draw inspiration from everything. And I think God does give us little signs and give it, people, whether it be through weed or through, when you're just thinking, or through even that twilight of when you're sleeping. And that's when a lot of ideas sort of come to me, is that between sleep and awake, and an idea will come to you just out of nowhere. And to me, it has to be God. So it's an interesting sort of thing to think about. It's like, how do we get inspired? If you're in a rut with your writing, or if you're in a rut with your work, how do you get inspiration? Like, how do you draw inspiration from life? And my tip for that is just put yourself in a quiet room and listen to music that is evocative and that will evoke something from you and will get your mind going. And like, then you could use, just like picture in your mind, like where the music is taking you. That's always how, I feel like that's really, really helpful. If you're really looking for an idea and you're really looking for, like, I really want to write a book and I just don't know what, and I don't want to force it, but I want it to be good. You've got to just calm down. You've got to put yourself in a very zen place and listen to music that you think will make the juices flow. That's always, and then a lot of times too, I always find is really interesting is when you look at say a classic story, like a classic good guy versus bad guy story, any classic tale, and think of it differently. What if the bad guy had won? Or what if just something like that. A lot of people do get their stories from that way. Like a lot of the movies that you see will be that are original and not knockoffs or I'm sorry, remakes or sequels. You'll see what a lot of what if this movie is about if the Joker had won or something like that. That's not a movie, but that's usually that's what you'll see in a tagline, imagines a world where, and it's a classic spin on something. I actually saw a children's book I get emails from my publisher about books that they're trying to promote, and one of the children's book, and it's about it's the night before Christmas, but it's told through the point of view of a mouse that was stirring. So it's just interesting stuff like that. You have to sort of just totally think outside the box And that's how I always thought, that's also the most interesting, is like people who reimagine things. People who sort of reimagined what if it had gone a different way. You know, like there's a new movie out called The Identical, and it's a sort of fictionalized telling of what if Elvis's twin had not been stillborn and had, you know, grown up and been adopted by another family, and it looks really interesting. It's not, they don't obviously use Elvis's name. It's a total different, like but you know, that's what it's about. It's about an Elvis type character who, you know, had a twin who had lived. So I always think that's really interesting too. So just sort of thinking outside the box is a great way to be inspired. Just think of like the most outlandish thing, and then your mind will go and you can write something great. So that's sort of my tip for it. And that was sort of what I wanted to talk about today, was inspiration. And speaking of inspired, can we talk about Girl Meets World? The sequel to, and I know I always make fun of sequels and remakes, but the brilliant sequel to Boy Meets World. It is amazing. You guys, there's been 3 episodes so far, and it's on the Disney Channel. I know it's creepy to watch the Disney Channel when you're not a child, and it feels weird, but if you just get over that, and please check it out. I think it's on Friday nights. I just record it and watch it. And it is primo stuff, let me tell you. All right, Girl Meets World, you know, starring Corey and Topanga's daughter Riley, and it's so weird, and it's that thing. I'm looking at it through as an adult. This show is like, it's a stoner's dream, let me tell you, because it is so weird. And it's like, the show itself is like, maybe for kids, like it's like, okay, like, you know, straightforward and good and fun and lessons, but as an adult and you're watching it, it's like the acting is so odd, and it's just they point out like stupid stuff in the show. It's really funny. It's a funny show. I highly recommend as an adult. And everyone from my generation grew up with Boy Meets World, so we have like a good reference point. It is so weird and funny, and you have got, please you guys, do me a favor, watch Girl Meets World. I think it's on Friday nights. It's on Disney Channel. Do yourself a favor and watch it, please. I beg of you, all right? I beg of you. I mean, I know I've asked you guys to watch a lot of like crap, but you've got, this is good, all right? And please start with the first episode, because there is a scene in the first episode that is so weird, and it involves Mr. Feeney, and you've got to watch it, and just watch them. The 4th episode, I mean, I can't like hype it enough. Watch Girl Meets World, please. All right, so that's why I needed to get that out today. Be inspired, think outside the box, and while you're at it, watch Girl Meets World. Please watch Girl Meets World. And make me feel better about not being the only weirdo who's watching it at 20-something-year-olds. Please, thank you. So you guys, I hope you have a fabulous week, and enjoy the beautiful summer we're having, I guess. If you're having a great summer, hope so. Love you guys. Mwah. Bye.